fly through the fountain and out of the fountain. And that's really how leadership works. Okay? It becomes a great chain of being and not just an individual doing their own thing. And another metaphor that I'll leave you with is one that I had recently as I was thinking about my relationship with Annie probably 3 or 4 months ago. And it's this. You know, I like to imagine the human race climbing a mountain like Mount Everest. Okay? And what most of us have done up until now, most of us, is we go, you know what, I want to climb Everest. So we go up there and we hire some people to help us climb the mountain, and we train and we climb up to the top of the mountain. And we go, I climbed Everest, I survived. Okay? But there's a special breed of people that have come before us that have laid the foundation of our modern knowledge, of our sense of who we are, of what it means to be a human going to their highest potential. And what these people did, I think metaphorically, is instead of looking at Everest and going, I'm going to climb Everest, what they said is, we're all going to climb Everest someday. And so instead of me climbing Everest, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to climb it, and I'm going to enjoy it, but then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and I'm going to carve one step into the side of it. And it might take me my whole life to chisel out that one step by hand, but I'm going to carve my one step. And this way, everyone can take that step. And what I've learned is that each of us can carve a step. Every one of us can carve one in our lifetime, maybe 2 or 3. But it takes doing all of this stuff to develop yourself to the point where you can carve your stair into Everest, so that in the future, everyone can just step up, and they've got it. And people that have come before us that have been, that have created math, and that have created language, and that have worked on philosophy, and worked on human development and education, that have worked on spiritual realizations. Many of them have come before us, and they've carved their step into the mountain. And we don't even notice it anymore. We go to school, we learn math, we're born in a country that has freedom, whatever. We just take it all for granted. Okay? But if we just look back and we look at all the work that was done by those people to carve those steps, that we were able to just run right up to the top, and it helps to realize that, it's worth it. It's worth it to carve that step so that everyone in the future can take it. So we need you to get into the fountain of leadership, and we need you to find your talent, develop it into a strength, excellence, become really successful, have your purpose moment, have your we moment, and then become part of the fountain of leadership and carve your step into the Everest called development, and leave your mark so that millions or billions of other people in the future will step up onto it. They won't even know that you were the one that did it. They won't know. Maybe your name will be carved into the side and a couple of people will wink at you, but you'll know, and it'll make a difference.
So I'm curious, given that this is a lot about the individual, but Inflection, we have a lot of resources and a lot of kind of directional things we can take the company into. Any thoughts on conscious capitalism changing the world through the company identification?
That's going to be your step to carve.
Yeah. But seriously, are there any things that you think about in terms of whether it's setting an example for another company or things that we can do to facilitate this type of growth within the company? Or
good question. I actually have, as I'm going through my own, you've known me as I've gone from just being about business to really getting very concerned with the bigger issues in the world. I've had my own thoughts of, wow, I'm running this capitalist thing, and it's almost like it was built in one way, and how do you change it, and how do you evolve it into something else? Fortunately, we teach people to improve their lives, and so there's some of this that's kind of woven into almost everything that we teach and we do. But what I would look for is things that, places where you can incorporate the value, whatever your value is of changing the world or doing it better, try to incorporate it into the value of the company so that It's one of the just the values that everyone's using to make decisions, you know, in some way. And the other thing that's made a difference for us is this kind of conspicuous charity thing. You know, we've probably, I don't know, we probably generated $250,000 or something in money for various causes and charities. And I really sense that it makes a difference in our company, you know, to the people that work with us, that, you know, that we're contributing and that they're contributing and so forth. I don't know yet, I really don't know yet what's going to happen with companies and how companies are going to get together and make a difference as a group toward this, because business seems to be the most powerful force on the planet now, and I don't think it's going to give up anytime soon, you know, and so I think that business is going to have to lead a lot of this stuff. I don't know if I answered your question, but a couple of thoughts. Any other questions? Thoughts?
That speech I fell in love with.
Yeah, that's how you guys met, right?
Exactly.
Is that speech?
Yeah. I do that one.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I apologize about missing the beginning, but I would be curious to hear if you did talk about the process of identifying what your strengths are.
Yeah.
Did you speak to that at the beginning?
Not so much. A simple way to identify what your strengths are is to email 10 people and say, I'm doing an exercise right now and I'd love your help. What am I good at? Right? Just what am I really good at that maybe I see or maybe I don't see? And you'll get some really interesting answers. I'm finding at this stage in my life, so Dan Sullivan, he has this process that he calls the unique ability. What he does is he draws some concentric circles. And basically what he says is that out here, kind of the big circle beyond all the circles, is this is the area of incompetence. Okay? Most things you are incompetent at. Okay? So, for instance, you know, anyone in here know how to make a nuclear weapon? Most of us are incompetent at making a nuclear weapon. Anyone in here know how to do, know how to grow corn? You know, the #1 crop in the world? No, right? So most of us are incompetent at most things. We're not even aware at most things. Okay. Then there's this circle here, this pretty big circle, and this is what we're competent at. So small in relationship to all the things we're incompetent at. This is the circle that we're competent at. Right? So everyone in here can probably, type competently. Okay? Everyone in here could probably answer the phone competently. Everyone in here could probably do basic bookkeeping skills competently, or run a spreadsheet, or whatever. There's just a lot of stuff that you can probably do competently as an individual. The next area is what you're excellent at. Now this might be 10 things, or 7 things that you're really good at, that you can really nail. But then in the center here is what Dan Sullivan calls unique ability. Your unique ability is that one thing, maybe 2 things, but one thing that you can really, really, really do well. It's just, you're talented at it, you've developed it, you've practiced it, you're really, really good. Now the challenge with the unique ability is we're usually so good at it and it's so natural that we don't notice it. And we often don't think that we could ever use it to be successful because it feels so easy. You'd feel like no one would ever pay me to do this. That would be like cheating. Like it'd be like getting free money or something. But the reality is it is what we're really great at, and we should be doing that thing. So since we can't see it, we have to ask others. And Dan has people send out emails to everyone they know. What am I good at? Like, what do you see as my, talent, my unique ability, my particular strength? And then you take that and you use that as the reflector to develop. And what's interesting is the unique ability. Most people think intuitively that it would grow over time. but it actually gets smaller. It actually focuses over time. And you get more and more powerful at a more and more focused thing. Now you can be adding skills and adding other abilities, but what they do is they make that unique ability, more and more and more powerful and more laser focused. So that's one idea. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for coming. This is
Thank you.
A fun experiment. All these sessions have been really, really great. Maybe we'll do it again.